Disgusting. As obtusely named as it is enjoyable, Atelier Ryza Ever Darkness in the Secret Hideout is a budget JRPG well worth its 25 hours. Flatly written as they may be, the titular Rysalind Stout and her compatriots, Tau, Lent and Claudia, front a solidly told coming-of-age story that, whilst unambitious in the realm of fantasy, provides enough fun story beats, character moments and revelations to achieve player interest and motivation beyond the ever-present core attraction of the Atelier series, the alchemy. After crafting a few simple tools, the abundance of resources out in the instanced open world can be harvested and brought back to the Atelier as ingredients for crafting the various alchemical recipes obtained throughout the game. These recipes are presented through a node-based UI that allows for a variety of different directions to be taken for any single item being crafted. Even within each node, the ingredients that can be used could range from a single specific ingredient to any within a general category, multiplying player choice and allowing for further control over the end product's inheritance of ingredient attributes. This system can quite quickly spiral into a deep chasm of stat min-maxing, optimal ingredient choices, recipe discovery and resource management, but only if you want it to. Thanks to the option of auto-filling ingredients and the superlatively helpful encyclopedia, you can go just as far into the crafting system as you find enjoyable. This main crafting loop is augmented as the game progresses with 3 secondary systems, reforging crafted items, duplicating materials, and increasing weapon and armor stats through ingredient infusions. These systems all act in some capacity to maintain item relevancy, which reduces the potential tedium of having to completely recraft items with better materials later on. Decontextualized, it may seem a mess, but Atelier Ryza's deep gathering, crafting, and improvement systems are delightfully presented and never fail to be engaging or frustration-free. Complementing the alchemy and equally driving the story progression is exploration and combat. Exploration is instanced between smaller, interconnected areas packed into larger, discrete map locations. Each area has a relatively strong identity delivered through its layout, art, and encounters, and they're structured in such a way as to avoid overlong travel within and between them. Even should you find travel tedious, the game provides a generous fast travel system that can be accessed from any time within the menus. Lying within each area are a few hidden chests, landmark locations and traversal obstacles that can be overcome with the various alchemically crafted tools at your disposal. Whilst these add a level of discoverability and depth to each area, they are in general used too thinly throughout the game, and the simplicity and linearity of the areas preclude them from being motivating enough to spend more time in them than what is required. That isn't to say they aren't serviceable, as throughout the story and recurrent visiting for material collection and combat, they never felt oppressively dull or lazy. Combat in Atelier Ryza serves as an avenue for character leveling and resource gathering both, and takes on a hybrid real-time turn-based form, whereby each party to the encounter has a discrete turn, but this turn is positioned on a continuously progressing timeline. Normal attacks and the use of crafted items generate an action point resource, which can then be spent on character-specific special attacks, asynchronous moves, or accrued to increase the party's combat acuity, raising the action point cap and adding secondary effects to abilities and stages. Characters can also be swapped between at any time, which adds a good level of variety should you feel bored with any of the cast's playstyles. The dynamism of this continuous progression of combat combined with a normal JRPG weakness and strength paradigm stymies what could have otherwise been a dull and static traditional turn-based combat system. Add on top of that some flashy animations, and Atelier Ryza's combat is, for the most part, an enjoyable experience. This experience is, however, not without fault, as the inability to pause combat to evaluate abilities, party condition, or swap characters, and an inflexible party management system adds unnecessary pressure to the combat flow strictly because it is playing out on a continually moving timeline. This time pressure and lack of control, compounded by a singular shared ability resource, isn't debilitating by any means, especially for the easier non-boss encounters, but it seemingly runs contrary to the slower and more relaxed nature of many other aspects of Atelier Ryza. I'd be interested to see how it has evolved and been addressed in the sequel and upcoming third game. Like with any JRPG, there's also an abundance of side quests and smaller auxiliary systems in Atelier Ryza. Treasure hunts, atelier customizations, currency exchanges, a dungeon generator, and so on. Individually, these quests and systems are solid but minute in their impact, but they also never damage the gameplay structure or the game's narrative flow, so their addition simply serves to add a bit more gameplay variety and content session to session. Forming the aesthetic heart of Atelier Ryza is an art direction that is bright, strong, and walks a good line between generic anime game and a more meaningful, deliberate stylizing. Whilst not the most high-fidelity world out there, Atelier Ryza is far from graphically repugnant, with some of the worst-looking locales being carried by the aforementioned art direction. The game's soundtrack has been playing in the background of this video, and whilst it doesn't always command attention, there are a handful of tracks that can be enjoyed outside of the context of the game. Atelier Ryza Everdarkness and the Secret Hideout is a simply told and relaxing fantasy romp with a likeable cast of characters, an intricate and absorbing crafting system, decent exploration, and fun if flawed combat. I paid $45 Australian on sale for the Switch port, and at that price it's well worth a purchase, but its regular retailing of $90 is a hard sell and a profound stretch from its rightful market position betwixt other AA JRPGs around the $30 to $60 Australian range.